world, my name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to another YouTube channel video, everybody. I'm so excited to have it all back here together again. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing another movie video, because I posted one I premiered one like 5 minutes ago called 6 MC Movies, Phase 1 ranked. So definitely go check out that video. But we're doing another movie video where we're talking about the top 5 most surprising movies of all time. These are movies that, I wasn't really excited for, I just wasn't really going to watch it. But then when I watched it, I absolutely loved it. And I was just really surprised with it. And so, as I'm going through all 5 of these movies, there's going to be some stories I have with these films. So, without further ado, let's get started with talking about these 5 movies that I was surprised with when I first saw them. So, Maleficent, if you guys know, the first time I actually saw this movie was last November of 2020, because I was doing my Disney remake series leading up to the new remake of Mulan that came out free on Disney Plus for all of Disney Plus subscribers, not just people that want to pay $30 back in September of last year. And when I was watching it, I was kind of excited for it, because for the bits of I've watched bits of pieces of it before, but I didn't watch the full thing before. But the pieces that I watched was that I liked the way it, but when I watched it, I just loved it. But getting back to the little story that I had, before I actually watched the full movie of Maleficent, I actually remember seeing parts of it on TV. We wanted to watch it, and because we love Disney and stuff, and I thought that the stuff with Maleficent, being connected to King Stefan, I actually thought that the way it kind of made Maleficent the main character and made it connected to Sleeping Beauty, and kind of the way her story connects to Sleeping Beauty's story, it makes it kind of cool in some ways. And and then of course Angelina Jolie as Maleficent is great. You get some cool action sequences, some cool CGI, and just some kind of new world building. And I kind of like how Angelina Jolie is kind of a person that cares. She is she doesn't just hate her, even though everything that happened in the past with Stefan cutting off her wings and stuff like that, it has good inside, and so she has to do everything what it takes to save Aurora. So I thought that was a really cool way to do the story. Now obviously there's probably a couple of issues here. It's one of those movies that it's one of the main points of these Disney remakes is that they give you questions that you kind of don't need answered. But that didn't really bother me in the film, because I kind of liked the way it connected with Sleeping Beauty and still made it a Sleeping Beauty film. But then I also wasn't the biggest fan of the Moors plotline. I didn't really think that this sort of people, this group of tree-like people, these creatures, I didn't really find them interesting. Granted, they look cool, but I didn't find them interesting. Granted, when you get to the second film, it makes a lot more sense because they're kind of the main part of the story. But other than that, this film didn't really do anything for me, so it's a bit, it did, sorry, that plot line didn't do anything for me, but everything else I loved. So if you're wondering, how was I surprised with Raya and the Last Dragon? Well, here's the thing. When the trailers were released, the first trailer was good, but I needed more just to be a little bit more excited. But then I watched the second trailer, and I liked it a little bit more, but at the same time, there was something about it that I just didn't find great in any sort of sense. I was really excited that we were actually going to get a actual Disney animated film where we're going to get action sequences and really cool stuff. But I thought it was going to be, when the reviews were coming in, I was like, is this going to be one of those movies where the movie is going to be good, but it's still but like it's still like, what do I say? But like, is it one of those movies that's good, but the trailer is better than the movie? And that was just my whole thoughts going into it. And like, when I was seeing reviews, I was like, I don't know about this movie. But then I watched it, and I was just extremely surprised with this film. And I was so surprised how they were able to tell the story, the way they did the characters, the way they did the action sequences, the way they did some of the animation. Like, everything in this film was just so handled cleverly. From the story, like Raya, like, it's so cool the way they did all, like, it works as a fantasy film, and it works as a Disney film, and like, it still tells a complex story, it still tells a pretty, and then as the story goes along, you have characters that have flaws, you have characters that have loss in them, and it's very cool, and you get to explore themes about trust and working and trusting one another and working together and being united, coming together. And I think the themes and characters and plot lines and music and action is just all cleverly well handled. And of course, some animation is good too, especially when you look deep into the posters. But other than that, this is a great film. It's not a perfect movie, but when I really kind of think about it, it is a great film. It's probably my second favorite film of this year. The movie that only beats that is In the Heights, which I found out today that it beats Raya and the Last Dragon, but technically I would rewatch Raya and the Last Dragon more than In the Heights. But, this movie's great, but a couple problems here. I don't like the Baby Noi. I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to the Baby Noi character and some of the humor. And also, I wish that there was a lot more action in the film. Like, I wish it was just action, action, action. And I felt like that there were some things that were kind of set up, but some of the execution was not handled very well. But overall, it was just a great film. But when you get to the end, it's kind of predictable of what happens, because it's not like Infinity War where everybody loses. No, this is a predictable film where the heroes win. So, but everything else, it's pretty fantastic. So if you guys know, I actually watched this movie in last month because I was preparing for the second film that came out, and I loved it. It was just, I heard great things about it, but I didn't really understand why everybody loved it. I just thought of it as just a very, I didn't really know what to think about it, but I just thought, like, I don't, when it comes to horror films, when it comes to horror movies, I'm not really sure how to think about them, because all I think of them is like thrills and scares, and like I don't think they work for me a little bit. But this film handles the thrills, the character arcs, the story, the music very well. The way they showed the stakes of this world, that if you make a loud noise or some sort of sound, it will kill. There will be these creatures that will kill you, and it sets it up very nicely. But along the way, you also have just great character arcs, just great characters that you care about, and arcs that they go on along this journey, especially with the father and the daughter, which I thought they had a great relationship with. And then the thrills, once again, are just great, because it's like, Emily Blunt has a baby in this movie, and it's like, you're in a quiet place, how are you going to scream? And so they find clever ways so that way she can scream and do all the loud stuff that technically, if something else wasn't going on, then she would be dead. But yeah, it just handles it in so many great ways. Probably the only problem I have with the film is that I wish that there was a lot more talking, especially when you have John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, which are two famous movie actors. But other than that, this film is fantastic, and I love this movie to this day. The second film, however, I love too, but I think that this film definitely is the better film overall. So this is actually a movie I watched in April. As you know, I was doing my DreamWorks series a couple months ago. Well, I ended it like in the last. Actually, I ended it like the second to last week of May. Yeah, I ended it the second to last week of May, and so yeah. But Mr. Peabody and Sherman, I watched and I heard just great reviews for it. And one of the things that kind of made me love it is Sean Chandler. Like Sean Chandler, when he was doing like the DreamWorks ranking, he talked about all these great things. And then I watched the movie, and he was right about basically everything. And this is basically one of my favorite movies of all time now, because it does something so good, where it does all these jokes. The jokes land so well. It has all this dog humor, and the relationship between the dog and the son is really cool. The animation is good. The way it kind of makes that a time travel story. The way Mr. Peabody kind of knows everything of how to play every instrument in the world, and how he's like a top class chef of doing all these creative choreographed things. The action is pretty cool. The animation is also fantastic, and then the score by Danny Elfman, which also did the score for Batman 1989, is also great. So it really just kind of does a bunch of things right. I will say this: the relationship between Sherman and the girl Penny, I believe, not really the best relationship, because it reminds me of Thor. The relationship between Thor and Jane in the first Thor movie, where they basically just become friends. Well, obviously, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of the relationship, because they started out as enemies, and it's like they're all of a sudden being kind to each other because of this journey that they go on. And then, you know, I started to kind of understand the theme at the end when he's like, "I'm a dog too." But I kind of understand it, but I'm not the biggest fan of that. But everything else is fantastic, and I love this movie. Okay, so when this movie came out, I'm not saying I wasn't excited for it. Obviously, when I started this channel, obviously I definitely would have seen it by now. But if I didn't go see it, I definitely would have been very disappointed. I probably would have been very ashamed if I didn't see it. So they posted the trailers, and I was like, it looks cool, but it's like, this was 2018 was like the year I was not really mature. So I was like, if this is really based from the comics, then I'm not sure if I'm going to be liking this movie, because technically I went to go see movies just for enjoyment. So I was like, it looks cool, looks pretty cool. I mean, it has all these characters that I saw in like the Spiderman, Ultimate Spider-Man series, but it's like, I don't know. I just didn't really think. I wasn't saying I wasn't excited for it. I wasn't saying I was skeptical. I wasn't really planning on seeing it in the theater, which I did, but I didn't see opening weekend. But anyway, so it was 2018, well, 2019, something like that. Well, I woke up one day in winter break. It was probably 2018 or 2019, someday in my winter break of 2018 through 2019. I was in 5th grade at the time. And my mom woke me up one day in the afternoon, and she asked me, "Hey, you want to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?" And I was like, "Okay." I mean, it wasn't like an excited okay or a okay. It was like, okay. Because I mean, everybody has been saying that this movie's awesome, and especially like that first week when it came out, people were like, I saw commercials for the movie, and people were like, "This movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes," and I was like, is this movie that good? Like, is it that good? So I went to go see it, So I was like, I wanted to go see it, and I was like, I didn't really know what to expect from the film. But then I watched it, and I fell in love with it. Now, technically, it took me a few rewatches to kind of talk about it. When I first saw it, I thought it was a great film, but as I kept kind of thinking about it, there was just a lot of great stuff in it. And first off, the animation was just clear, crisp, best animation, probably some of the best animation of Sony that we've ever gotten, probably since, well, I haven't seen Mitchell's versus the Machines, but it's probably some of the best animation of 2018 since Incredibles 2 and Ralph Breaks the Internet. It also, as an animated film, as a Spider-Man movie, as a Miles Morales movie, as a Spider-Verse film, as a multiverse film, and of course, as a Marvel movie, it works as everything. And also, the characters, the story, the humor, everything in this movie basically works. All the characters they have their own sort of unique touch into it that makes them likable and makes them careable. Like with Miles, you have this arc that comes through with Chris Pine's Spider-Man, that he made a promise that he will do whatever it takes to put this key into the thing so he could stop the machine that Kingpin has created, so that way it won't destroy the entire world. And then Peter B. Parker, he has this arc that goes throughout the entire film and then once Miles puts everyone back into to the original universe, he's like, he doesn't want to go back because he doesn't want to mess up again. And it's a really cool arc, and it's like Miles learns of what Peter said to him. It's a leap of faith. You won't mess up again. So it's really cool the way they kind of do all of that. And then of course the villains. As this is the next Spider-Man film that has so many villains, this is the movie that is the example of how to do a great to have so many villains but make it great and simple at the same time. You have Kingpin, which just has a great story. Prowler. Granted, he's kind of like the Winter Soldier, except he doesn't have an arc, but he still is creepy, and the style of him is great. The girl version of Dr. Octopus, also fantastic. Scorpion, Tombstone, probably kind of forgettable, but they still work in the film. Even Green Goblin is great, and even the action is choreographed in a way that feels like you are watching a comic book come to life. So yeah, this movie just is crafted so well with great characters, great music, a great soundtrack, great animation, great arcs for the characters, great villains. So it really just works at everything that is going for. There is two issues though I do have though. Kingpin, I'm not the biggest fan of. Well, I mean, I like the arc of him and the character of him, but the specific look of him, I'm not the biggest fan of. Like when Miles is going down with him, and he bumps into different things as the multiverse is going around them. I don't like the way they're fighting because it just looks like he's bumping around. He's fighting a big ball of a big black ball, and it just doesn't look. It looks weird. And then the other multiverse characters like Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir, and Penny Parker, and Spider-Gwen, or the new Spider, the one and only Spider-Woman. I think that now Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, and Spider-Woman, they all have charismatic personalities that I like. But Penny Parker, on the other hand, but they don't have arcs like they do with Peter B. Parker and Miles Morales. But then Penny Parker, I just don't really care for her. I don't really care. Now her suit, I like the emotionality with her suit dying, and I do like the kind of anime style of it, but I'm not the biggest fan of anime, and I don't really think I don't really like the way it is. I would prefer Spider-Ham over this anime Spider-Man, but that's all of the problems I have with the film. But this movie is fantastic, and I can watch the movie even with those problems. It doesn't really bother me a good bit, but it's still a problem in the movie. But I still love this movie, and that's why it's my most surprised movie of all time. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My Instagram is Marvel6, my TikTok name is Marvel1Fan. If you guys don't understand those names, head to my about section so you can follow me on all social medias. I'm also on Letterboxd. It's the same name as my Instagram, Marvel_6_, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.